Whenever Ultraview releases a version 2, it's usually for a very specific reason, and the UV button 2 is no exception. I don't have one in hand yet, so this isn't a shooting review. Instead, we're going to break down why Ultraview replaced the original, what mistakes they were clearly trying to fix, and who this release is actually for. To understand the UV button 2, you have to understand why Ultraview would replace the original. Ultraview doesn't release updated products often, but when they do, it's usually because something fundamental needs to change. Not because the original wasn't successful. The original UV button built a strong reputation for Ultraview, and a lot of shooters are perfectly happy with it. The number one reason for this product is manufacturing. Ultraview has been striving for years to bring their manufacturing 100% in-house, and this is their first product that is 100% USA made, and the price hasn't moved an inch, which I think is extremely impressive because products are usually much cheaper when a small Chinese boy is making them. This also affects their quality control and how quickly the engineers can turn feedback into actual product improvements. Another big reason for this updated product is because of a lot of the feedback they got with the UV button 1. A lot of people felt, especially bow hunters, that the neck was too long, which affects draw length and overall feel, even if the release itself performs exceptionally. This wasn't about reinventing the UV button. This was about tightening control over how it's built and how it fits the individual archer. Before getting into individual features, it's important to remember what the UV button 2 actually represents. It's not a full redesign, a full new product, it's just a refinement of what already existed in the UV button 1. The overall ergonomics and release design remain familiar. If you have shot the original, I'm not sure that the UV button 2 is going to feel totally different. It's going to feel like a very, very similar release. The changes are very deliberate and targeted, but they're not very dramatic. Where Ultraview did focus a lot of effort is the internals of their new release. The button 2 features much farther distances for adjusting travel and force. They also say they've improved durability and repeatability so you can have much more confidence in the product long term. At the same time, several things did not change. This product is still positioned for experienced archers who know how to tune their equipment. This is still an extremely premium product that is designed to be as close as it possibly can to a perfect tool for every archer. One of the most immediate and intentional changes on the UV button 2 is the shorter neck, which is a huge complaint a lot of people had with the UV button 1, that the neck was too long and they ended up having to shorten their draw length to make their anchor comfortable. I personally don't mind the longer neck on my UV button, but it is a huge criticism from a lot of shooters, so UV naturally wants to shorten the neck to make this more shootable for so many people. This change just aligns the UV button 2 more closely with the trends going on in bow hunting and competition shooting. For shooters who did struggle with the long neck on the UV button 1, this change alone might be enough to get them to make the switch. Ultraview has always leaned heavily into modularity, and the UV button 2 continues this cycle with some important compatibility changes. Starting with what didn't carry over, the old UV finger extensions will not work on this new release, which is a very meaningful change, especially for archers who already spent $40 on finger extensions for their old button. From Ultraview's perspective, this likely comes down to the internal redesign. When you change the internal geometry, the external compatibility is the first thing to be sacrificed. On the positive side, all the thumb barrels will still fit, and a new thumb pad that Ultraview just added this year. One important thing to note is that all thumb barrels will still be compatible with the new UV button 2, including all DO-ARCHERY thumb barrels, which you can buy now from the link in my bio. Next, I'm going to talk about aesthetics. Now, this section is purely my opinion, so feel free to let me know if you feel different in the comments. Now, I personally prefer the look of my original UV button. The original feels more cohesive in its design language. The new UV button 2, it does look good, but I feel like it has a hard time standing out against other releases like the Stan Onyx. Now, aesthetics don't change how a release shoots, but they absolutely affect how connected a shooter feels to their equipment. When you're handling something thousands of times over a whole season, those small details tend to matter more than people like to admit. And the material change is where my opinion becomes more critical. Ultraview switched from stainless steel to brass for their heavy option. I far prefer the original stainless steel of the UV button. Because of this coating they put on it, it has far superior corrosion resistance and durability, as well as a smooth, consistent surface over the whole of the release. And with the UV button 2, Ultraview has moved to brass for their heavy option. Now, from Ultraview's standpoint, this does make sense. Brass is cheaper and easier to machine. It allows much tighter tighter control over the quality of the product at scale. However, even in Ultraview's own product photos, you can see machining marks and small imperfections on the surface, which is not unusual for brass, but for a $350 release, I feel like most people are expecting more. Again, this does not apply to a performance issue, but it is a huge visibility change. It affects how premium the product feels because brass has a tendency to show much more wear and handling marks much faster than stainless steel does. For me personally, the combination of the new design and the brass material makes this release much less visually appealing than the original did. I do know that some shooters love the weight and characteristics of brass. I just happen to prefer the cleaner, more polished look that the stainless steel gave me. Now finally, who is this release actually meant for? For shooters who struggled with the long neck on the original UV button, especially bow hunters, they will likely see the UV button 2 as a meaningful upgrade. But for many shooters, this release may remain out of reach because of the price tag. If you go to Lancaster and filter, I think it's number 2 on the list. For me at least, I already own an original UV button that fits me perfectly and I feel no need to upgrade to the UV2. And regardless of my personal opinion, it's worth acknowledging what Ultraview is doing, bringing manufacturing 100% into the US and not increasing the price at all. Whether or not the Button 2 is a release I would personally choose, it is a thoughtful piece of engineering and a great addition to the archery industry. And that's exactly how good gear should be designed. If you found this breakdown helpful, please consider subscribing. If you're running a thumb release, my DO-ARCHERY thumb barrels are fully compatible and designed to fine-tune feel without changing the release itself. They're built to solve the small ergonomic changes that show up over time, so if you want to upgrade your release, the link's in the description.